Everybody, and welcome to episode, I believe it is, let's see, 32. And I have been extremely fortunate today. We're doing the series called Let's Discover God Together. And for those of you that are Christians, you ought to know that one of the things you want to do is go back to the earliest time you can to make sure you're getting the clearest understanding of it. And in my travels back there, what I discovered was that includes Jesus being a Jew and part of Judaism. So I needed to find out if I could find somebody to help us understand some of that as well and where that all comes from. And I've been very fortunate to find Rabbi Brian, who has agreed to help us out. I can answer some questions the best he knows how and can, and I'm really appreciative of you, sir. Before we start the questions, is there anything you want to tell the audience about yourself or anything else? And we'll add links later too, but feel free to tell them now as well.
I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be here. Help to clarify this any way I can.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Well, we're gonna dive into some questions. I did ask some people on Facebook as well as I had some of my own questions. Let's see if I can get them to come up. Here we go. Seems like the first one ought to be, what is the correct way to refer to, and I kind of stumbled in this the other day. I know it's Judaism, but should we be referring to that as a Jewish religion, Jewish faith? What's the correct way?
Well, you are not alone in being confused. Um,
Thank goodness.
if Judaism is an ethnicity, Judaism is a religion, Judaism is a culture, Judaism is a people, ain't nobody can give you a clear. People can give you one clear answer, but then there's going to be somebody who's going to give you another clear answer. There's no you can just talk about Judaism, or as I sometimes say, Judaisms, because it is
Okay,
very far from monolithic.
gotcha. So we're within a very large accepted group of being a little confused about it, but Judaism is probably the safest way to do it. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, I'll put in a little bit of just so people speak biblically a little bit more accurately. Um, Judaism doesn't happen. You can't have Judaism until you got a tribe of Judah, which can't happen until the kingdom of David. So Moses, who would have come before the Exodus, right, before the
Hmm.
settling in the land, Moses you can best refer to as an Israelite, not a Jew.
Right.
No, not going to be any Jews yet.
Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. For yourself, you're a rabbi. I know, or I believe I know, with pastors and priests and ministers, there's usually some kind of schooling they need to take depending on the denomination to become one of those. How does that work for a rabbi?
So the path I took was a 5 year postgraduate seminary coursework. Did a year in Israel, two in LA, finished up in New York. A 5 year postgraduate, so I got very large certificate to prove it.
That's good. You get something for that.
And so on the path to becoming a rabbi. I got a master's degree in Hebrew letters, which is what it's called, and then got ordained as a rabbi, which is a laying of hands ceremony, and then got an honorary PhD because honorary doctorate. I apologize, honorary doctorate
Oh, okay.
because they give you one if you live 25 years as a rabbi.
And I assume part of that is studying and learning the Torah. Is that a correct assumption?
Mostly, mainly the Torah and the Talmud. So
Okay.
let me try splicing that out. Um,
Please.
a lot of Christians have the idea that at the fork of the road at Jesus's time, Judaism remained stagnant, and it's just not true at all. The Judaism that evolved after Jesus's time has uh, in the year 200 a law code is codified called the Mishnah. In the year 500, a law code about the previous law code is published. That's in the year 500. That's called the Talmud, Talmud. So most of Judaism that we have today is based on this path of no longer doing. In Christianity had the same problem, right? The temple's no longer standing in the year 70. So how do we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? How do we worship God if there's no temple? And the answer the early Christians came up with was it was faith based, and it was about love and compassion. And the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Essenes were more legal according to the. So there's a problem. Let me step back a second. There's a problem. If God wrote the words of the Bible, if the words of the Torah are God's words, how do you then not fulfill them exactly as written? Christianity has the solution. Well, you no longer have to. Jesus came to free us from the law. Of course, this is against Jesus's own words, where he said, "I did not come to change one jot or iota about the law." But Christians, this new sect said we don't have to follow the laws no more. We're free from that. Judaism has a different path because we don't have the Jesus option. You have, how do you ignore the laws that are written in the Bible? I'm going to give a pretty long example, but it's worth it. You're seated, Steve? Ready for it?
Yes, I am. Please.
Okay. So it says in the Torah, it says you should take the disobedient child out in front of the city gates and stone that child to death. That's a pretty rough law, but it's in the Bible. And if you don't have the Jesus option of not following the law exactly as written, how do you get rid of this law that you don't want to take your kid out and kill him? So the rabbis parse out the law and they say, well, the law says you should take the disobedient child out and stone him for the gift. But we all know that if a child is a child, they're not responsible for your actions. They're not responsible for their actions. So you don't stone the child, you punish the parent, but it doesn't say punish the parent. It says punish the child, so you don't have to. If the kid's under 13, you're clean. Well, what do you do then if the child's over 13? Well, if the child's over 13, they're no longer a child.
Aha.
It's pretty
Loophole
brilliant.
discovered. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
this
great.
is how Jewish law came about, was how do we reinterpret what was written to fit?
So was that one of the changes you were referring to, like in 200 and 500, there
Yeah,
were
so
changes?
the story I just told you comes from the year 500.
That makes perfect sense. I'm glad you went through that.
Yeah.
And let's see, I know I got more. Let me see what else my next question is. Um, well, I know what my next one is I want to do because we're kind of on that subject. It wasn't next in order, but I'm curious. So you've got the Torah,
Mhm.
and Christianity has the Old Testament, which would be the closest thing to the Torah, I believe, in my understanding.
Let me clean up the language a little bit. So
Please.
the word Torah, much like we refer to this entire globe as the earth, and you can describe a handful of the dirt as earth, Torah means all of learning and all of wisdom, and it also means the 5 books of Moses, and it also means the whole Bible, and it also means the Bible, including the Mishnah and the Talmud. So Torah is a
Wow.
it's a it just it's a large word. So what were you getting at? So the
How would
Christianity
it
calls it
compare to
the
the Old
yeah.
Testament, is what I was
So
asking.
we have what we would call the Hebrew Bible,
Hmm.
which is pretty much the same as the Protestant Bible. It's got the same books in it with some difference. The Catholic Bible is very different than the Protestant and the Hebrew Bible. Like the Catholic Bible includes, I used to teach a class and we get to the section on Hanukkah, and I tell everyone, all right, I'm going to give the introduction while you page through, and I want you to look at the book of Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 4. And I've talked to them. Well, I know something they don't know, which is the book of Maccabees is not in the Hebrew Bible.
Right.
When they made the canon of so the closest thing to the Old Testament, and Jews won't use the phrase Old Testament,
Sure.
because it has an implication. If this was the old one, there's a newer one.
Right.
I'm
Makes perfect sense.
with it.
Thank you for pointing it
So
out.
Hebrew Bible and Old Testament are pretty much synonymous.
Okay. That's amazing. I thought there was some differences, but I realize you are correct. With the Catholic, there would be more difference too,
There's,
that
I
Bible.
think, seven
Because
different
even
books.
with Christianity, we have all kinds of differences, and if we have time, we'll get to that too. But but anyway, let's see what else. Oh, different denominations. Obviously, as we talked about,
Yeah.
Christianity has over 45,000. Does
Yeah, we don't have enough
Judaism?
Jews for 45,000
Oh no,
branches,
please.
but um,
But do
there,
you
as I
have some?
said, there's Judaisms. They would break down into three stripes, if you would: liberal, less liberal, more towards the right end, and then the right. And then there's right, and then there's ultra right and ultra. And they tend to go by the phrase orthodox, ultra orthodox, modern orthodox, conservative, and then on the far left would be reform and some renewal groups.
Okay, and what about Messianic? Isn't that one of them?
Messianic does not get counted. Well, it's funny. The Messianic Jews consider themselves Jewish, but the rest of the Jews do not consider the Messianic Jews to be Jewish,
Oh, okay, that
because once
explains
you
it.
bring in an extra deity, it violates the rules of space-time continuum or whatever other rules are being broken.
Makes sense.
And
Well,
now
to help
on
us,
the
and
on
I
the
think,
flip side of that, Steve, there are humanistic Jewish congregations. There are congregations of Jews that have written the letters God out of the prayer book altogether.
wow.
And then there are people to make it even more interesting, there are people on the very far right, the Lubavitch Hasidim with the curls and the hats they're the ones who look like a rabbi, but this
Yeah.
is really what a rabbi looks like. Burn the tent. This
I'm
is it.
trusting you.
They believe that their last leader, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, was the Messiah, and you can still
Oh,
see. Yeah, so they believe he came to as a liberator to free us, um, and that's on the very far right end of Judaism. So they maintain that they wouldn't call themselves Messianic Jews, but they do believe in a Messiah. It just wasn't Jesus; it was Schneerson.
right, right. And that is probably why Jews don't consider Messianic Jews part of them, if I'm understanding it correctly, is because they look at Jesus as the Messiah, which none of the
It's not
rest of
Jews,
Judaism looks at that other than the one you just explained. Do we
right?
have
And
that
they're not
correct?
looking at Jesus as the Messiah.
Right.
They are
Yeah.
looking elsewhere. Yeah.
All right. That makes
Now the
sense.
word
That
Messiah. Let me
please.
clean
That's
up.
what you're here
It,
for.
it is in Hebrew Moshiach with the phlegmy
Mhm.
sound at the end, Moshiach, and Moshiach means anointed. Just means you were anointed. It was meant you were anointed with oil. King David was anointed. He was Mashiach. So the word Messiah is also used to describe people, ordinary people who were blessed.
Well, I got to say, you do very good with that phlegmy sound. Is that part of the Rabbi Education series, or?
It's growing up Jewish. Is you got the ch for challah and chelm and chutzpah. Yeah,
You're
and
right
actually
there.
the way can you make that sound?
Probably not.
Give it a whirl. I'll teach you how.
I don't know.
Okay,
I suck.
so do this. Do ha ha ha
Ha ha ha.
h h h. So h h h, and then do a k h a ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha.
There you go. You
I
got it.
tried
So
getting close.
that was the best you ever
With
done.
practice, I could become a Jew.
Uh, Anytime you want, buddy. I'll give you a certificate. I can do it right now if you want.
I love it. That's actually going to blend right into my next question.
Okay.
I know for myself personally, I don't have a synagogue right in the town where I live or anywhere close. So I know friends that don't go to a church also, and they attend just online through online churches. Are there online
Of course.
synagogues you can attend?
Yeah, yeah. Most major, uh, every congregation had to go online in COVID, and some of them made it into quite a show with great production value. So,
Okay.
Temple, there are a few in New York City that have great production value. I hate to say it like that, but they're uh, worth checking out.
I get what you're saying. And would anybody be accepted? No hoops you got to go through
Yeah,
to.
you just especially online. But if you wanted to go in person, if anyone wants to go to a synagogue or temple near them, just call up during the week and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in coming to see a service." Uh, no, they'll meet you at the door on Friday night or Saturday morning. I recommend Friday night. It's a little shorter. Saturday mornings
Yeah.
can be a bit of bang for your buck.
If you're going to go for your first look, don't go full bore maybe into
Yeah,
the
I go
Saturday. Yeah.
go go Friday night. Or do we also do a thing often on Saturdays? It would be a Torah study. So the Torah gets broken up, much like y'all have the lectionary, but y'all don't do all the words all the time. So
Hmm.
the Torah is broken up into sections called a parsha. It's not necessarily, it's about three and a bit chapters. And every week, every synagogue is studying the same section of the Torah, of the first five books of Moses. And that can be a really interesting thing to see is a Torah study. It's not a thing that I see Christians do where Jews
I don't
will
either.
dive into the text and argue about it. Well, what do you think this part really means? And why do you think it says this and my translation says that? How how
Do
did
they
my
go
mind
back? Do
yeah,
they go back to the origins as far back as you can go in the text?
I don't understand the question, Steve.
Well, that actually leads into my next question, and we
Okay.
kind of talked on this when we talked the other day. If you go back to the original teachings, in my
Uh-huh.
case, Christianity before 300 AD,
Uh-huh.
okay, or in your case, I don't know what kind of timeline to put on it, but the most original text that you can find for Judaism.
So uh the oldest text that archaeologists found up until the last 50 years, until they found the scrolls from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest extent intact Torah written was from about the year 1000. We didn't have any archaeological evidence of any of it before that. The Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found in Qumran, have pretty much word for word the same. There's some differences. They have some books we don't have, but to be fair, the Bible that you and I read, will refer to books that we don't have anymore.
Right.
Like in the Bible, it says, if you look at the books of the wars of the Lord, and it's like we don't
Yeah.
have that book no more. That's been
Yeah.
lost to time. So uh, when we're doing a Torah study, we're doing the five books of Moses, which is probably codified by the year 600 BCE. The
Okay.
last one. So this fascinated me that I didn't pick up on it. That the word Deuteronomy
Right.
means a second telling. Deuteronomy gets added in. There were four books of Moses until King Hosea. He does this thing. He cleans out the temple, and they clean up the temple to make sure that it's all sacred. And he's doing this purification. And they find a scroll, and they open it up, and they say, "Oh, now there's two ways of looking at this story. There's one. Hosea was a religious reformer. He wrote these much kinder interpretations of the law of who you could kill and who you couldn't kill, and he found it. And if you think about Joseph Smith in Elmira, New York, finding the plates of uh, the Book of Mormon, it's kind of the same story, just a few thousand years earlier. So Hosea, religious reformer, finds the scroll or plants the scroll, and from that day forward, we have the five books of Moses.
Very good. And would you say like your sign behind you says number one, kindness? We kind of talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
I feel like if you take it back to the beginning, it's really all about love, kindness, those type
Yeah.
of things. And
Well, but you need to know some history to make it feel that way. So I
okay,
often will see a bumper sticker that says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth makes the world blind and toothless. At the time that that law was written, and that's in the Bible, it's also in Hammurabi's code. At the time of 1800 BCE, and we have archaeological evidence for Hammurabi's code where it says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. In that day, that was a real liberal idea because in the ancient Near East, you kill one of my cattle, I kill your whole family.
yeah,
And the idea of an eye for an eye was let's keep it level, let's keep it where it was. And let me while I'm manic in describing that, the rabbis go back, they have the same question that I asked about the take this kid outside the city gates is how do you do an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? Because it says that's what you got to do in the book. So how do
right.
you not do that? Well, the rabbis, again, very clever. They say, well, when it says an eye for an eye, does that mean if my eye is blue and yours is brown, they're equal value? What if your eye doesn't work well and my eye does work well? That's not really an eye for an eye anymore. What if you don't have any eyes? It's not equal. So the rabbis say it therefore must never have been about the because the size, the color, the shape is all different. It didn't mean an eye for an eye that way. It meant monetary. Uh, I don't know that word.
Recompensation or
Recompensation. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've got the same thing. There's a few verses I can't think of them now, and my wife, who tries to go by the keep it simple method of everything, says, "Well, we keep forgetting to put everything in context of when it was written and what was going on
Yeah.
in their time." And I got to believe that's important, because to not do that just seems crazy.
Yeah.
But
So let me go back to the sign behind me. I put on a little sign that says number one, kindness, number
yeah,
two, God. And this is not a Jewish idea. This is, it's not a Jewish idea. It's just not very, is that I don't really care. And that's why I wanted to talk with you was because I thought you wanted to talk and debate about God. And when you first sent me an email, I get people who want to tell me that I'm not a complete person because I don't have Jesus in my life.
right.
And I tell them, I often will say this to a woman. I say, well, unless you get a sex change operation and become a man, you'll never really understand what it means to be full, to be human.
That's right.
And they're like, well, that's offensive. I'm like, I'm offended that you think I need to be your religion to be a full person. Like, get
Yeah,
out of here. So I think this experiment in religion. It's all about kindness. It's got to be about kindness. And
I
then
think so
I
too.
tease that once we finish talking about kindness, I'll be glad to talk about God.
Amen.
But we're
Amen.
not
Yeah.
done.
It won't be a long time taking care of number one, won't we?
Let's just keep working it till we don't need it no more.
That's right. I agree. I agree. You teach some online as well, correct?
Yeah.
Could someone join one of your group things?
Yeah. So if you want low entry Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I got open office hours. And if you go to ROTB, R religion, O outside, T the B box, ROTB.org, I'll put it on the screen.
And I'll put it
If you
in the comments on the YouTube as well. That's right. You're pretty good with this tech stuff.
There we
Look
go.
at him go. Look at him go.
If you go to ROTB.org, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time is open office hours. Anyone's welcome to join. You get a link. You'll see it live there, rotb.org. And then Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., we gather it. People start coming in at 7:30, just like in church where they come in a little early, chat with each other. And then at 8 a.m., I start the official service. But
I
the
think we
topic
should also mention those times that you're mentioning are West Coast times, correct?
Pacific Standard, yes, Pacific.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
So adjust to wherever you might live when you hear this. Here are some questions I got from some other people, Rabbi.
Great.
These came from David Schenk. Would love to hear the Jewish thoughts on what happens to people after physical death,
I knew that
or his
question was going to come.
or
That
his
is the,
response to various.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll read through this. Okay, or his response to various views such as ultimate reconciliation, annihilation, eternal conscious torment, etc. So I guess it's all along the same lines.
So I can't remember. It was some celebrity recently who said this. It might have been like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. It was somebody who I got to look it up.
Yeah.
Judaism's very, it's one of the things we do is we give attribution to the person who said the thing always. And I can't do that because I don't remember who it is right now. So I apologize. But they said, what happens after you die? People mourn for you.
Yeah.
That's what happens after you die. People mourn for you.
Now, I know there's different segments in Judaism that believe different things, including some that think the Messiah already came. But in let's say the one that you believe, do you still
Yeah.
believe there's a Messiah coming?
So there's a great book by Rabbi Robert Levine. The title of the book will give you the answer. He says, "There is no Messiah, and it's you."
Okay.
The way to bring about a messianic age for us,
Pardon me.
the tradition he's picking up on is that there will only be a messianic age. The Messiah will only come when the Messiah is no longer needed.
Okay.
And to get back to his question, uh, Judaism has Judaism holds on to minority opinions in a way that is very unique among religious traditions. If you lose the argument, you still get written down as, and then 200 years later, someone can say, "Well, it used to be debated, and that guy used to say it this way," and we hold on to minority opinions. So Judaism is held on to. We've had in the year 1070, right after Dante published Dante's Inferno with a tour of hell, a guy named Solomon of Rome wrote a Jewish version of here's what happens, here are all the different levels to Jewish hell. It was so we had a life after death. One of my professors said, and I like his answer, I'm trying to do this one lifetime at a time.
Okay. Not going to
And
worry about it, what happens after this one, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Bible is very unclear about what happens after we die. Not that that's the authoritative source for me on answering all these questions. Let me
What
say
is your
one other thing
authoritative source? Okay, good. I agree.
here and
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Um, the
So
question
many
I get
similarities.
most common question that I get is the question you just asked is what were
Yeah.
Judaism's belief in life after death? And after having been asked this question for 25, 30 years, I had to ask myself, why is this the question that I'm always being asked? And I came up with a theory. Like people don't say, well, how do you keep kosher? They don't, that's not a question that I get asked, but
Right.
what is Judaism's view of life after death? And I'll put this one back on you, Steve, that I
Please.
think the reason that rabbis slash Jews, and I'm only talking from my own experience really, get asked about life after death is because Christians know at some gut level that what they're being told is not right. And they're looking for when did it jump the tracks?
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
wondering, did it jump the track by Jesus's time?
I think for me personally, and I'm unusual. I think I'm unusual in the sense that I don't really consider myself an ism of or an ist of any kind. So my percent is probably smaller than even Judaism, if I can find enough to even equal that. But I will agree with you this far. I think throughout Christianity, which we've already identified, at least for today, is the largest percentage of believers in the world for without a question, where you go after you die is a central theme. You know,
Yeah,
there's
not
no question that's their main thing, whether you go to hell and burn in whatever because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or you go to heaven and live in great luxury and wonder. What happens is everything. So I think that's why you get asked a lot. Um,
yeah,
Myself
those yeah.
personally, I I think and I believe, but I'm first to admit I could be wrong, that we're all going to go back and be in union with the Father that created us.
Okay.
I don't just think we go to dirt, but maybe we do. You know what? I have been trying to sit down and have coffee with that guy and have this discussion, and I just can't get the meeting to happen.
Uh,
I do talk to him about it. I do ask, but honest to
yeah.
God, I'm not real concerned at what happens after this life right now. I'm more concerned with the best way I can spend it while I'm right here.
Amen.
So
Amen.
there's my own personal thoughts on it.
I
Let's
appreciate you sharing.
let me see what we got for our next question. Rob Reno. What can be said about Jesus, if anything, from a broad Jewish perspective today? Boy, that's a broad question, isn't it?
I'll take a shot at that. What can be said about Jesus? Jesus was a prophet. Well, first of all, Jesus, historically, there was a guy. This was not just Moses. I don't think there was a guy
Oh,
in
okay.
Moses' story. I don't, the historicity of the Bible begins at King David about 1000 BCE. We start to have what we would refer to as facts and stories then. Jesus, there was a Yehoshua bar Yosef. I don't know how his name would be, but I know there was a
Right.
guy. I know he led with love, and I know that he was anti-authoritarian.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me how few Christians, how many Christians are in bed with power
Yeah.
and government when that was Jesus's primary call, as I can see it, was
I would
uh,
agree.
we can't be, you can't serve two masters.
No.
You're going to serve Caesar, you're going to serve God.
Yeah.
And I think the historical Jesus would be gobsmacked to see what people have been doing in his name.
I would agree as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're really getting the gist of what he was trying to teach without a doubt. You know, you bring me to another question I didn't ask of mine, but since we got to Jesus, I'm going to go ahead and ask. And you may not have any knowledge down this area either, but it came up in a group discussion we had the other day. To the best of our recollection with history, we get a little bit of Jesus when he was around 12 or 13, and he was one in the synagogue showing off what he knows.
Yeah.
And I won't showing off is a bad word. That's not what I mean.
No, it's
But
fine.
but anyway, he had a lot of knowledge, and he was showing that knowledge when he was sitting in there. And then
Teaching.
we don't hear
Yeah.
squat about him
Yeah.
until he was 30.
Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts on what happened to those years or any knowledge?
Ain't nobody knows that.
Okay, very good. Just had to
Uh,
ask because it was on my mind the other day, and I thought, well, I'm going to ask him just in case. Here's a
yeah.
question from Paul. Oh, I think we already may have answered this, and if we do any doubles, let me know. He points, Paula, and actually will add to the question, Christianity, as we know it, has over 45,000 different denominations in the U.S. How does Judaism compare?
Yeah,
I think
we
you
did.
answered that already, and in short, it's like five or six different left to
We
right.
go from left to right, um,
Yeah.
and each group thinks it's correct.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Lenny Manning asked these. How do they think about the afterlife? And I think you already answered that, so we'll skip it.
Let me add in a little bit more. So
Okay,
throughout
go ahead.
history, Judaism has embraced the culture in with which it is. So reincarnation at some point was within the bounds of Judaism. Uh,
Oh,
Heaven and hell were within the bounds of Judaism. Uh, Physical reincarnation is still talked about. It's only in Hebrew. People, when we do the prayers that are in Hebrew, that prayer is done in Hebrew and hardly ever translated into English. But it says praised are you, God, who brings the dead back to life. Not every
Oh,
movement does that. That's conservative on to the right. To the left of conservative said, no, we don't believe that. We're taking it out of the prayer book.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So familiar. You're right.
It's,
I'm wrong.
yeah. It's people.
Yes, it appears that it is. Um, did the ancient Israeli people, like Abraham and Moses, have a concept of eternal burning and torment in hell like typical Western Christians these days think of hell?
No. So Abraham, we got nothing on. Moses, Abraham wasn't even an Israelite, right? Because you can't become an Israelite till you have a character named Jacob Israel, which is his grandson. So uh, Abraham, we don't have hell. Moses, there's some weird things that are in the Torah that are in the 5 books of Moses, actually past the 5 books of Moses when we get to King Saul. He remember the story of the witches of Endor that they bring
Vaguely,
back
yeah.
Saul, right? And he was in the underworld. It's really murky the what was meant, but he gets reconstituted to give advice about who should be king of the kingdom, and he consorts with the medium, with the witches, even though there's a law not to do that. So apparently there was some belief that there was a life after death in the shadowy, murky under the world.
Right.
Nothing like burning in fire and forever. That y'all
Yeah.
added that shit in.
Came up on our own. And that
Yeah,
was like, if I'm not mistaken, at least 500 AD or more that we started adding crazy things like that. Maybe 300,
I
but
don't know.
it wasn't in the original teachings. Not from what I can tell. But yeah, what a thing to add. All right. And I'm glad to hear you don't have that in your Torah. What what is or was their concept of salvation? Was it about making things better in this life or getting to heaven someday? And I think you already answered that, but do you want to go at it again?
Salvation. I don't think I know what that word means.
No, that's why you already answered it. Yeah, you said basically for you, once you're done with this life, you're done. It's not a matter of what do I have to do to be able to go to quote unquote heaven, I think is what the person's
Right.
asking for
And to
salvation.
me it seems people get um people have some real strange thoughts that God would only love you if you said these 7 words.
Agreed.
That doesn't feel like any deity I want to be talking to.
Nope, me neither.
And I hear sometimes from people, hey, Rabbi Brian, you seem so nice and kind, and it's too bad you're not going to go to heaven.
Sorry.
That's all right. I think you have the proper reaction to it.
Oh my, I know. It's crazy.
And I say back, you chose to believe that,
Yeah,
and you can choose not to.
yeah, yeah.
You chose to believe that you chose to condemn me to a hell because
Yeah.
of why?
Well, and the worst part of it is because of a wrong teaching, even. That's not anything to do with what Jesus said in the beginning, not from what I've been able to tell and research. So,
No.
yeah, that's a real shame. Yeah. But it really comes down to, again, I'm right, you're wrong, somebody decided all along. And then what we see a lot of people do, they decide to follow what somebody told them is right or wrong without really doing any research on their own to see if
Well,
what.
that's because certainty is, for some people, it's too uncomfortable to be uncertain.
Yeah, yeah.
So they smack everything into a box, even if that doesn't fit in the box, and it's right or wrong, it's left or right, it's gay or straight, it's this, not that. But it's not.
That's a perfect time to bring up one of your group names, isn't it? Religion out of the box or something like
Religion
that.
outside the box. That's why that's the ROTB is for religion
Yeah.
outside the box.
Wonderful. Sounds wonderful to me. I know that. Let's see what we got another question here. Mm, this one I'm sure we've answered. What was the ancient Israeli concept of Messiah? And what was the Messiah supposed to be like? Well,
So
I
that
guess
that's
maybe.
a question.
Yeah.
We I think I think I might have exhausted what I have to say about that already.
Okay.
Good questions. Um, there is there's a line in the Talmud, right? This is the year 500, and it says, if you're planting plants and someone shouts, "The Messiah has come," finish planting the plants before you go to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me go a little bit arcane. So, 1800s, uh, there were groups of Jews who were pretty sure the guy named Shabbatai Tzvi was the Messiah. He was a Jewish guy, and from best our historians can figure out, probably would diagnose him as being bipolar at this time, because the history of him is he was grandiose as hell, and then he fell into a depression and didn't deal with anyone for a while. Then he was grandiose, and he had a third of the world's Jewry following him as the Messiah, until the Sultan said, "You either renounce this or we are going to cut off your head."
Oh
And
my.
he renounced that he was the Messiah, uh, and his followers, right? People thought he was the Messiah. He was going to bring in a messianic age. His followers said he only renounced his beliefs so that he could infiltrate more and get more of the Muslims to believe what he believes. Uh,
Yeah. Sounds
but
more sure, doesn't it?
share one story which I just love about the man. He he said to people that he was so holy that he didn't walk on the ground. He floated above the ground. He never got his feet dirty. And
Oh
somebody
my.
said, "But I see your feet right there on the ground." And his response, "You are obviously not holy enough to witness the miracle."
That almost sounds familiar.
Right?
I I could say.
We won't have to.
That's good. All
Yeah.
right. So let's see where we're at now. Well, we definitely did that one already. Oh, them and their big words. I don't know. Did they have any eschatological end
Esca,
times? Yeah.
yeah. So there's two words.
Ideology that's anything typical to Western Christian belief.
So all of it, but we've not the idea of a rapture though. We've
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a rapture, end of days. Uh, we don't. I don't know why y'all hang your hat on that. Seem like I don't go watch scary movies because I find life to be scary enough. I don't know why you would,
Really?
and why people go and like ignore the rest of the Bible and then get so hung up on the book of Revelations, which, as far as I can tell, was written by somebody on acid.
It sure does seem that way, doesn't
What are
it?
you doing? Why are you staking your whole identity on crazy? Well,
Well,
God
and
bless.
and I've even seen, it's just like anything else. We can twist interpretations around. I mean, just about anything else we want. But I agree with you. Normally, it's looked at as a very scary book, but I've seen interpretations that justify it right out to being a very heartwarming, good book
Oh, I
with
haven't
good
read that.
things.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I find the link, I'll send it to you. But where somebody has done that. But I think you can find anything to be just about justified. And I liked your answer earlier, and I personally agree. And everybody out there, by the way, you got to find your own way to believe. But I like this being my best source right
That's
there.
it.
Let's see. I think we got one more guy we haven't given a chance to. So let's see if he's got questions we haven't hit. Oh, I would like to know, and this was from Dustin Stowey, good guy.
Thank you.
I would like to know why Isaiah 53 is forbidden in their culture. I mean, I guess I know why, but I mean, do they think it's a false teaching or not part of the original text? And I'm not sure what he's talking about. Do you?
I'm looking up Isaiah 53 right now.
Okay.
Isaiah 53. I don't know which part we're looking at. It's a whole chapter.
Yeah, and you've got it in your Bible or your Torah. So him saying, I'd like to know why Isaiah 53 is forbidden in their culture. Sounds like he may be misinformed or misunderstanding that. To your knowledge, it's not forbidden in the
Well,
Judean
there's
culture.
something that he's talking about, and I'm trying to see what.
Well,
Uh,
I can try to pull up a different version of it, I guess. I'll go with the hideous one.
I got you. Okay, I see.
Now you
So
know what he's
Isaiah
talking about.
53 centers on what the suffering servant described in the passage as Jesus or the nation of Israel. So I remember I was taught this one back in middle school, um, and it
That's,
was
well, that was a
it's a
couple
real
years ago.
yeah, it's a real anti-Semitic trope, and people have taken Isaiah 53 to mean that the Jewish people are the chosen people, but they were chosen to suffer, and that they were chosen to be a substitute for Jesus. That all the pogroms and the hatred and the Holocaust and all that were made to because the Jews were fated to be a suffering servant. So they were to the the same way that Jesus died for all Christian sin, Jews were being tortured and killed to make up for fuck if I know.
Yeah, mean God.
It doesn't make sense to me.
So did they remove part of Isaiah 53 or do you know what he was referring
No,
to
no, no.
there?
It's just that's it's in
It's
the
not,
Bible. It's just
yeah.
what you do with that phrase, um, suffering servant.
Most
I
of the
can't.
Judeans do it the same way you do. You're like, well, that passage doesn't make sense. Is that what we're saying?
The idea that first, I think you need to have the idea that Jesus died for our sins
Yeah,
before you can get to the idea of Jews being a suffering servant. It just feels anti-Semitic to me,
yeah, yeah.
and
Doesn't
to
feel right to me
justify
either.
that a people should be eternally punished and suffer for something that they didn't ever do. It's gross. So thank you for
Yeah,
bringing it up.
as I heard
Um,
somebody else say, if that's what your God believes, I don't want to believe in him either.
right.
Let's see. He says, I've also been listening to Baxter, that's J. Baxter Kruger, if you're not familiar with him, talk about Adonai, Adonai, and
I
how
can.
that specific name is Hebrew, is plural. I would love to hear the rabbi's view on that. Do you know what he's talking
Okay.
about?
I do indeed. So in Hebrew we have same way that you have Savior, Lord, King of Kings, all different titles for the same deity. Judaism in the Bible has El is a name of God. So Daniel, Gabriel, Ariel, all those end in El means God. Uh, a, a plural of El is Elohim, which is more than one God, and Adon, from which this gentleman is correct, the name Adonai. Adon means master or Lord or somebody, and Adonai is the plural form of that. Um, Here's a dirty little secret: Judaism didn't start out as monotheistic.
Ah.
The idea of one God comes later with the Babylonian exile.
You're right,
And
that
then,
is almost a secret. I've never heard that before.
yeah, so and you know the documentary Hypothesis, some about the different authors of the Bible.
I honestly have not, but I need to probably look it
Oh,
up.
look up the phrase documentary hypothesis. I'll find you a book. Um,
Definitely sounds like something I'd love
there's a book
see,
called
read.
Who Wrote the Bible, by Richard Elliott Friedman, and I
Yeah, I
can't find
think
it. And what they
you might
did,
have
this
turned
is
me on. It's on my to-do lead or read list. I think that one is.
definitely you should read that. So in Germany in the late 1800s, people started, they said, well, that's strange. Different names are used for God in the Hebrew. And then they looked even closer and they said, well, every time that the word Elohim is used, it's a much more accepting, loving God than every time that the word Adonai is used. And they came up with this theory that there's more than one author of the Bible, and we can see that there's more than one author in the Bible based on the grammar that's used.
Oh my.
It's a brilliant documentary hypothesis, and Richard Elliott Friedman's book, and I'm looking for it on my shelf so
And
bad.
could it be that the different authors of the Bible saw a different God based on their own lens?
They had different names for God and
Hmm.
give us a sense. There's a priestly author who's really, so here's where you know it from, even though you didn't know you know it. Genesis 1, creation of man and woman at the same time in God's image. Genesis 2, God makes the mud thing fall asleep and makes a second creation. Those are different versions of how humanity got created, and they use different names for God.
Right.
And once you start looking at it, and then the Noah and the Ark story is one author, the other author, one author, the other author. Somebody took the two different Noah Ark stories and brought them together. So you know the answer to how many animals did Moses bring on the ark is 2 by 2, but
Yeah.
within the text it says, and there were 7 of each. And part of
Oh,
the text says it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and the other says that the water came up from the bottom of the ocean. I might get some of the facts wrong. I don't really care,
right.
but that there's more than one author.
Yeah,
There's
there's more than
definitely
one version is the important part.
the place where you can see it and you know it from this is from the Gospel of hold on, Mark. The end of the Gospel of Mark has the great proclamation.
Yeah.
And if you read it, you just read the text. Where I have a note here. If you just read Mark 16 and you start at the beginning at Mark 16, it ends at Mark 16, verse 8. And then you'll notice that verses 9 through 20 have just a different cadence. They it reads like some other author
Different
wrote it.
author. Yeah.
And the earliest versions we have of the Gospel of Mark don't have this go proclaim unto the masses. That's a later edition. And I ask you to please look at Mark and take a look and see for yourself. It's clear as day that it's a different author
I
who's
don't
taken.
doubt it for a minute, Rabbi Brian, because
Yeah.
I've seen so much of it already myself as I dig back into the history. There's been some, and again, it's whatever works for somebody is great. I'm not cutting anything down. But in
As
my
long as
opinion, there's been some real mutilations of what was meant to be in there to what's in there today.
as long as they're kind. That's
Yes,
all I
I
care about.
agree.
I'm sorry, I can't stop looking for the book on my shelf. And I know
That's
when
all
I'll find
right.
it is as soon as we're done with our talk.
I don't know if you believe this or not, but we've already gone through about an hour.
I believe it. Talking with you is a pleasure.
You too, Rabbi. And you know what? I think we did get through the questions for now. But I'm not opposed if the thing works out to do questions again or any other way we might end up meeting together. Maybe I'll show up at one of your online meetings.
Please,
But
please do. And can I do a quick plug?
please
I
do.
wrote,
Yeah, yeah,
I
we're
wrote a
not in
book.
that big a hurry.
I wrote a book called Rabbi Brian's Highly Unorthodox Gospel. This is the version that I take with me when I go speaking. So it's got my little notes on it. But it's a really fun book about how to be compassionate, kind, and loving to others and to yourself. And if you want to get a copy of the book, I will personally, it is not available on Amazon. You cannot buy this on Amazon because they wanted a huge percentage and they didn't do any of the work. And
Sure,
I
sure.
thought
And
that's
they
just
can
not
get it on
fair.
your rotb.org.
ROTB. Yeah, you can find the book there.
All right, because I will put that in. I will definitely put that link in and anything else you want in the description on the video as well.
That's
Make it
good for
easier
me.
for people to get there.
Yeah. And have them write in the comments that I saw you on Steve Reed's, and I'll write a little special note out to them.
And you'll get a rabbi signed copy that might be worth
Yep.
millions before you die.
Depending on inflation, sure.
Thank you again, Rabbi Brian. It
A
has been a
pleasure,
great
Steve.
pleasure.
Thank
You
you for
too.
reaching out.
And I'm sure we'll hook up again. Thanks again.
Thank you, brother.